Okay guys, this is Avatar Sage 7, a Elder Scrolls Online video. And I just realized if I don't turn off the music, probably no one will actually be. So I'm gonna do that real quickly right now. Oh, I better turn the music volume down to about 33. How do I just turn the music off? Turn master volume to 33. How about that? That should allow my voice to be heard real easily. So, back to the characters. Let's load in. I've already adjusted some of my characters already up to about Blade Force here, the 4th character, for update 29 and the change to the champion point system. Of course, I'll eventually do the Flames of Ambition DLC dungeon, that's the pre-dungeon before the actual release of Blackwood. And that'll be a separate video, I'm sure, when I'm running dungeons or specifically choosing for it. So we're going to go in and take a look at the Champion Point system and the respec of Champion Point System 2.0. So I've already taken a look, like I said, through several of my other characters this morning, and damage output is not that much different than what it was before if you select the correct node points, really. If you choose kind of the new, weirder abilities that they've or variations of the abilities, like the ones that cause people to explode for oblivion damage when you inflict a status effect or something like that. Like, that's totally different from the old system, obviously. I didn't choose any of those ones because they didn't really fit my original builds before. So, like other people have said, you probably need literally almost, I don't know, 50% to 100%, which is double what you're going to get in terms of champion points in order to have like absolutely every one of the previous abilities you had back in Champion Point System 1.0. But the advantage here is you may think you suffer less, you get less damage because you'll have like 10 to 15% less critical damage and 10 to 15% less healing and critical healing and things like that. So, oh shoot, yeah, this is the guy, like I said, says champion points have been refunded. Reset them again. Skill points have been refined at the game. So this character already is a Magicka build, DPS normally by base. Most of my mods aren't working, I think. That's right. Only AUI is working. Haha, hilarious. Yeah, that's fine. I already knew that. So by base already, my max health has gone up a little bit. Oh, I'm not even using food on this character right now. That's good, that's good. So, my base health has already gone up by... looking at this here, could be anywhere from 4,000 to 5,000 base health. I think I had about 12,000 base health before this. And of course, I haven't even factored in my racial passives. They haven't been slotted in yet. Health and stamina, weapon damage. So, like I said, Dunmer or Dark Elf was real good for dual hybrid builds that do stamina and magicka. I don't have any of those except for Redguard Dragon Knight, who I've already went through. So you're going to notice that the champion point system has been, as they said before, the 3 nodes now, craft, warfare, and fitness. And kind of default for me usually right about now is I just literally just start this tree off. I don't care too much about the sneak part because I don't really sneak that much with my other characters that aren't the Nightblade. So just to get it off the ground, you need a base of at least 10 points to spend to move along the tree usually. So I don't care too much about the gold right now. I'm really after the more useful practical stuff. So crafting inspiration, I usually go for like max here. I am CP 1014, so I have plenty of CP to spend at least. Chance of extracting woodworking and other materials. This one is optional if you intend to break stuff down. Technically, I have spent this on the other 4 characters. I technically didn't need to, but you actually might need to finish doing it just to be able to keep moving along the tree. So Meticulous Disassembly is a slotted ability, so to make it actually work, you have to slot it. And then around here, Treasure chest quality is useful. Harvest time, very useful if you do a lot of harvesting, which I do. So I'm just going to stuff the full amount here. And double yield from resource nodes, also useful for me because I love using it. Maybe 40. So it's by 10, so if you have less than 10 points, it's not even worth spending it. You can do a lot of mount speed stuff, but my mounts are fast enough, they're already at max speed, so I don't really care. One of the more interesting ones is, not this one, the weapon enchants decay 20% slower precision, which means, I'm trying to understand, I think this one means in terms of its duration, like how long the duration lasts, but I guess they would have said 20% longer. Interesting. So I haven't yet totally read up on the weapon enchants version, but I usually slide a little bit in here. I also go for maximum speed, especially for characters who can go fast, like my stamina sorcerer. I don't care about repairing armor or sneak stage. I usually go almost close to max on Steed's Blessing for 20% extra movement. So even before I use Falcon's ability on the Warden so that I can move with major expedition. So this will get you almost a huge amount of speed. Like my stam sorcerer moves like crazy now, especially in medium armor. And everything else here is like, do I care about gold? Not really a big deal. Fall damage is not a big enough deal. Weapon enchants, I barely have enough points to hit it, so whatever, I just abandon it. So I alt zoom out before I finalize things, and I go over the war tree. This is where the fun stuff is. Because this character is mostly I build around DPS, I don't really care about tanking or healing. You can heal just fine even without the healing tree, to be honest. Unless you want to be like the most massive master healer of all. So I usually go like the critical chance, definitely up. And this tree here is for tanking in a way. It reduces damage, but it's a maximum of 5%. So if you think about it, it's not really worth it unless you're a hardcore tank. So I should probably fix this on one of my other... I don't think I put this on anyone who's not on one of my specialized tanks. Only my Red Guard Dragon Knight is a specialized tank, and I did put a bit in his one as well, but he technically doesn't need it because there's also a node in here that just increases armor, which also increases your defenses against everything. So armor is right here, Ironclad. I usually max this one out just for more armor anyways. And stamina, health, and magic recovery, this is always useful. So I max that one out. So before we continue, I go drill into this. This is the one that allows you to increase more damage. So this guy's a magical character usually. Now, if I wanted to hybridize him, a Dunmer is the best character for that because he already has bonuses to both base stamina and base magicka, which increases your damage. So anything in this tree that increases your weapon damage, spell damage, magicka, and stamina will increase your damage, which offsets the reduction in critical chance and critical damage that you find in the new Champion 2.0 system. In fact, like I said, I tested my Stam Sorcerer, and she does almost the same amount of damage she does even with 5 pieces of medium armor. She could probably do more if she wore 7 pieces of medium, but she's still using the Undaunted skill line that also grants bonuses to all health, stamina, and magicka for wearing 3 different types of armor. So it's like maybe 3%, 2 to 3%. So she still turns out to have almost the same amount of DPS damage that I usually have with them, which is like in the area of like 20 to 30k anyways a second DPS. So this guy's a magical character, so I'm going to put at least increases offensive penetration by 1400. Magical status effects are interesting, as in it'll allow you to apply the status effects more often. What I really want is the weapon and spell damage. And martial status and weapon and spell damage to martial attacks. Weapon and spell damage. Both of these grant weapon and spell damage, but one affects magic, flame, and frost and shock damage. I still want to be able to have 60% increased bonus chance here. Like if you had a charged weapon Uh, with the destruction staff, you could get already 80%, 80%, nearly 80% status chance effect, which is great for burning people to death or freezing them immobile. Lightning's a bit of a weird one. Increases the damage by another 8% for that status effect. Unlike, stacking in Warframe where you can stack a huge amount of shock and kill someone, this game's lightning is somewhat underwhelming in my eyes, but whatever. 8%, who knows, could be considered somewhat useful for most lightning sorcerers, I suppose. So if you have 60% bonus without charge, then you're probably going to get somewhere closer to, oh, I don't know. I probably have to do the math, but I'm estimating, I mean the actual math. I'm just estimating off the top of my head. So 80% gets a 200, a charged staff gives you a 200% bonus to inflicting status effects, which the base chance is 20%. So 200% to 20 is like almost 3, and is times 3, and your destruction staff, it gives you another 100%, which is a times 2, or is that 100% chance extra, I think. So that might be 2, 3, 5. So technically that should have been a lot higher. All I remember off the top of my head without having to go back and recalculate all of the math is like it was close to 80%. So if you only have a 60% here, then it's like a 1.7 without the charged weapons. So add that to destruction staff, and that's like 100% extra, so 160%, so that's 2.7. So it gives you maybe 40% chance to apply magical status effects, 40 to 50 or so. Not as great as having a charged weapon, which will probably up you to 80 to 90, maybe even 100%. Again, I'd have to do the math. I'm just doing this off the top of my head, so I can't really say 100% exact value, but it's a lot higher with a charged weapon, and including this flawless ritual. And if you max this out, like literally, there's no way in hell that you can't get close to 90%, 80 to 90% status chance, which would allow you to inflict some serious off-balance status effects, which will allow heavy attacks to do more damage if you're using a lightning user, or if you're a fire user, then they'll definitely be burning all the time from your flame attacks, which is what I love about my Dragon Knight. And this character is the Warden, so he has ice attacks, so he'll immobilize people more often, freeze them solid, and apply maim, major and minor maims to them, which reduces their damage by 5%, I think is the minimum. If it was major maim, then it might be, not maim, sorry, defile, was it? Can't remember the exact name. The one that reduces, it's either chilled or something like that. And chilled has a 5% to 10 or 15% reduction in damage. I have to check that later. It's off the top of my head right now. So here I'm spending the rest of my points. This is what kind of like the standard I've been doing for all my Magicka DPS characters, and even also applies to your stamina, except if your stamina, you're going the other direction, going this way for martial status effects, of which you can now inflict bleeds and stuff like that, and should be a lot more interesting for martials. But I haven't noticed any massive uptick in DPS when I was trying out my Stam Sorcerer or anything like that, so I haven't tried any Magicka characters just yet. This one's the other one. Like, these are kind of like the default until you have like a huge ton of champion points now, because literally 1014 divided by 3 trees is not as many as I thought I'd have, obviously. And these are the special ones, like Occult Overload. These ones you have to mount. So Wrathful Strikes I mount into the slotted tree here, giving me more weapon damage. Obviously this one also increases weapon and spell damage for both Magicka and Stamina, so I increase this to max because I love doing that. I just like having the high base damage, which is huge. Like right now, the increased Magicka and Stamina stats, which also increases your damage, plus the tree here that gives you more weapon and spell damage, for example, and from here, more weapon and spell damage has literally meant that even though your critical damage may drop by 10%, your increase in weapon and spell damage plus your increase in just base stats, which also affects your damage, means that it literally compensates for any of the reduced critical damage bonuses. Like this is what the critical damage and healing done by 2% per stage is. This used to be as high as 25%. Now it's only as high as like what 10% or something. So if I stuff it in here, like literally it's 10%. That's like 15% less than in Champion Point System 1.0. But because of the increase in max magic and stamina by like 4,000, 5,000 or something in that area, plus these nodes that now grant weapon damage. Oops, I already saw this. Plus the nodes that grant weapon and spell damage, you literally, oh, and you also have to choose to slot these in order for them to apply. You literally do almost the same amount of damage, assuming whether you're wearing armor, uh, light armor for magicka or medium armor, 7 pieces medium armor for stamina and 7 pieces light armor for magicka. I don't think it's quite as much of a magicka damage boost though, because the magicka set doesn't really give you damage, it gives you penetration instead. So I've got 38 points left. Where else did I stick it last time? You can either increase max magicka per stage, which also increases the amount of damage you do. There's also these other ones that are cheaper, but they only give you a lot less, 26 per stage. So you can either go big or small increments of increase in terms of magicka. So this guy's got 38 points. These ones here are so small that literally I could not even care much about them. 5% reduction in Magic Flame Frost. Critical resistance is useful in PvP in terms of reducing critical damage. Reduces your damage taken from non-player attacks by 2% per stage. Only if you love PvE only, which is like what I would be, but I don't really like taking something that's so specific. So it acts as that you actually have to take either max stamina or max magicka. And because damage scaled with max magicka, I'd probably take this one or endless arcane supremacy. These other ones here are nice. Like what used to be automatic, like riposte back in the old tree after you hit 75 or 100 points. It reflects damage back at them when you block an enemy, but this is only really, it's a very niche-y, could be fun, but it doesn't add much to your overall DPS in the end. And because of the increased stats that you're going to get and the increased weapon damage nodes here that you're going to get, like it literally compensates for the minor DPS you would gain from some of these other abilities. Like you can get them if you're like specializing only in tanking and you have 3,600 skill points, champion points to spend. That would allow you to slot different abilities in here as you need. So if you're tanking, you would slot these kinds of block damage attacks, deal 5,040 back or something, that's riposte. But I don't have that many points, so obviously I'm going to go with the base stuff that's the most useful in all situations for a DPS. I mean, you can still tank even with just these nodes. Probably best to stick to like normals as I usually do. So say I just decide I'm going to go max magicka and I can only hit 3 stages, so technically I could go all the way back down here. There, 780 magicka. That deals with that tree, so 8 left here, and so technically I could stuff it in here. 8 points here. For 10 more points you could get 260, for 8 more points you could get 100. This is best to be used last after you fill this one out, really, in terms of value per point. In this tree, like I said, I myself always get armor because I just love armor. It's passive, it's easy, increases damage resistances to everything, so why bother specializing in either magical attacks or physical when you just do everything with armor. You can obviously get the other nodes that I showed you in war if you want. If you're a super duper tank specializer and you have like 3,000 champion points and you've got excess ones to load, so that you can slot them into these nodes here when you go into like a veteran trial, for example. But if you're just playing normal, casually like me most of the time, because you don't have that kind of time investment to go raiding all the time, then you know, not going hardcore specializing in tank nodes is fine, especially when you only got 1,014 champion points right now. And it does go up every day that you do writs. So obviously this character sometimes tanks. He also does do healing, but frankly the problem with healing is healing hit points is so easy. That's why it's better to get other sets that don't just increase the amount of hit points you heal, but sets that actually add utility, like add bonus weapon damage and spell damage, or damage shield. That's why sets like Prayer Shawl, Gossamer, Spell Power Cure are more useful generally, though Gossamer is not so great. Are generally more useful, or Kagran Axe Hope, because the healing stuff and spamming healing to heal people is like so easy that adding more nodes for healing that just increase critical healing hit points, damage, hit points that you heal, or anything like that is just kind of meaningless. So that's why I don't usually bother specializing in the healing nodes, especially with so few champion points to spend now. It's and since most of my characters often go tanking because it's the easiest role to get into dungeons with, I usually just spend 40 into Tireless Guardian here to decrease block and increase the amount of damage you can block by another 6%, so 45 here. The other ones are, if you're bracing, move faster, or if you're already crowd controlled, but that's only if you're really tank specialized. And at least I get maybe 15 points into tumbling, 120 cost reduction, and this, just to open this up. This one's nice because you can break free for no cost every 21 seconds, which is why I opened this one up, just to reduce a bit of the break free cost here, a little bit. But is it the end of the world to go higher? Probably not really. What I really want here is to get to the health node, which increases your max health, which obviously means you can take bigger hits without dying so quickly. So you just stuff this, because sometimes I do, like I said, a lot of tanking on my characters in normals, because it's just the fastest way to get into the dungeon so I can get transient crystals. So getting that is fine. I've still got 78 points. The vitality tree is kind of, so-so. I mean, you get even more health by going with the boundless vitality. Are any of these slottables? No, these ones are slottables. So I want the health, all of the triple recovery, ironclad. While officially with satisfaction, your core combat skills cost 5% less per stage, which can be nice for spamming more Magicka attacks, so maybe go for that. I don't care too much about the resurrections. Damage shield is a big thing for this specific character. He does use some damage shields with one of the gear setups. So increase the effectiveness of your damage shields against damage shield. So you do more damage against shield enemies, plus your damage shields are more powerful. This one is a big one for this character, so yes. And yeah, that's pretty much all this one needs. And you need to slot this before you confirm, ironically. I don't know why it ended up that way, but there's a glitch with survival instincts for that reason. So let's see. Bastion. And reduce the cost of your damage shield abilities by like a measly 2%, which is barely noticeable. I suppose this would definitely reduce server load, because now each character only has that best 4 abilities that need some sort of, if this happens, check if this is there sort of calculation in the background. Everything else is now baked into your stats. So which one? Oh, I'm surprised that this one requires you to recalculate armor. It's not a base passive. You actually have to slot it, so I guess this one is like kind of like a cost-benefit analysis. Is it worth slotting this over something like more health? So let's go back. Everything is slotted. I leave 8 points because they don't make 10, so I can't get any more. So I confirm. And now everything's slotted. Weirdly, I swore there'd be more greens to slot. Oh, there are actually more greens. Harvest, yes. Double yields. I definitely want movement speed and combat slotted. So what did I slot here? Improved chances of extracting stuff. Oh, I chose that just for fun. Move this. Treasure chests. And double yield on resource harvesting. Because my main guy who does extraction is my magical sorcerer. So I only got this for 50 for the hell of it. Technically I could have just dropped the number of points in here and put it into something else in reality. Because the true extractor is one of my other characters. So I'll probably do that with my other alts except for my magical sorcerer who's the main crafter anyway. So this one's optional, but because this requires that you must have 50 in order to progress this tree point, I guess that's the reason why I selected it, unless you want to take an alternate path. Like way strong usage, like that's even, like I could care less about that too. So you can see that some of these are like really, this is craft, so this is very like the non-combat-y skill sort of related stuff. And only a person who enjoys playing thieves or doing thieves guild activities would probably find much of this tree to be hilarious, good fun for them. So let's stuff that. I don't believe there are any more blue stars that I need to slot in here. The blue star slots are the ones that glow extremely bright blue like that one. Like that. And these ones... oh no, these are kind of standard. They'll kind of tell you. If it says add a champion bar to activate, then you know you'll need to, you'd have to slot it. So this one's equipped fighting finesse. The other ones that are good for damage would have been deadly aim, thaumaturge, obviously, and biting aura. These used to be able to increase your damage done by up to 25%, but again, now it's offset by having higher base stats and higher weapon and spell damage options here. Like if you go for this one, if you go for these ones, War Mage or Mighty, and if you go for Untamed Aggression. So that's it for the champion point section, and now you have to redo all your abilities in the current version. Everyone's kind of just logging and probably redoing their characters right now. I'm probably going to come back after I do this video to finish my daily writs for all 11 my characters apparently. Plus I have to go through all the skill points, so it's going to take another 2 or 3 hours hilariously after this update, and they still probably gonna have to work out some bugs, I'm thinking. Yeah, skill points, like once you do all the slotting, like already without food, yes, that's right, without food, I already have 27,000 max magicka, and that's because I also grabbed a bunch of extra max magicka nodes. I haven't even... oh, I have 59% block mitigation, that's interesting. Sneak speed's only 60%. Sprint's really fast, 134. That's fast. Not as fast as if I did Bird of Prey. So once you start slotting your you know, racial skills, you start seeing your stats go up some more. So dynamic increases my max magic on stamina by 1910. So now I've already got 29,000 max magicka before I even have food. Back to it. Resist flames. They changed this so that you're no longer immune to burning, but they increase your flame resistance by 4,620. So they modified it so that because they got rid of the immune to the burning side effect, which would make any character who's using fire damage less able to do the burning status proc damage to you in PvP. They got rid of that so they'd be a bit more fair, but they gave you higher resistances so that you would have reduced damage overall from both burning and the fire attack, the initial direct damage fire attack. So if you look here in the advanced stats, after you click that and go down to resistances, you see that my fire resistance in total, factoring spell resistance before I cast like my icy cloak or whatever, my ability that boosts my damage resistances further, I've already got 23.5% resistance and 30.5% fire resistance with my racial bonuses. And I do 5% extra fire, disease, bleed, physical, everything because of the War Mage node here. So I believe it's here. No, it's not this one. It's this one. 150 weapon and spell damage for everything, and this one also does 165 weapon and spell damage for everything. So it calculates how much extra damage bonus I think you're getting. It might be from there. I have to double check later. So going back here, so the flat 5% here is coming from one of those nodes. I'm not sure it's exactly those ones. I'd have to do the math some other time later, but I'm just doing this quickly just to show you. Yeah, so as you can tell, literally I've got the Boon and the Thief, which adds another 6% of spell critical, so our base is 23%. My max health is already now 18,191, and this is without food, so this is already huger than I used to have. I was like, base would be like 12,000 or something, so 6,000 extra health just from getting the Vitality Tree. So this already increases survivability for all characters, even in the base game, and max stamina is 13,000 as a magical character right now. So that's crazy. That's like freaking crazy. Then I increase my damage further. So I have extra 258. So Dunmer is already extremely offensive character, so as in terms of offensive damage. So now my base weapon damage is 2,743, which is huge. Now that they've changed a lot of stats, so your hybrid characters can now do weapon and spells at the same time. But this used to be only, I don't know, 1,800 to 2,200 in the previous champion point system. Now my base spell damage is 3,471. So this more than compensates for reduced critical damage and reduced spell penetration, for example. It's like my spell penetration right now is only 1,400. That's because I haven't even added the Destruction Staff yet. So if I add the Destruction Staff passives here and the Light Armor passives, so let's say the Light Armor passives here for spell criticals, and I'm not going to worry about resistances right now. And this one is for each piece of light armor you get more spell penetration, which does somewhat increase your damage up to a certain cap. Oh, I'm not wearing light armor right now. Oh, that's hilarious. I'm wearing heavy right now because I'm in the icy furnace mode. So you won't see this, but this is actually like somewhere in the 1,400s, 2,000s or something. So it's gonna end up like that. I'm gonna have all these nodes because I tank in order to get in dungeons, and you'll see that again. You're gonna have more increased maximum magicka at some point. Obviously, I haven't slotted all my skills back, like taking some of the mage nodes here. I mean, mage skills, like mage light with magical control will also boost your max magicka as well. So that's it for the Champion Point System 2.0, really. That's really what's happened so far. I mean, you think you might have lost damage, but in reality, because of the super giant increase in like spell damage and weapon damage, depending on whether you're focusing on magicka stamina, like literally is an increase of, if you get the nodes that I just showed you, I think I've increased somewhere in the area of 1,100 to 1,400 extra spell damage. It's just insane. This is even before I get every one of my passive skills slotted already, plus any other stuff. And this is also factored in by the fact that max magicka affects your spell damage, or total spell damage for your skills, whatever they happen to be, like weapon skills for destruction staff. So I haven't even slotted these yet. Definitely gonna get Elemental Force. That's the one that increases the chance to apply elemental status effects. It is 100%. So 160% with what I got, 60% from the Champion Point node, which means 160. So it's 2.6 times the amount times 20%. So that's almost 52% chance to apply status effects even without the charged weapon trait. Normally this would only be 40% without the node. So it's a little bit better. A little bit better. Not much change in terms of the other passives. Like there will be, the armor has, like I said, changed before. Like you now have light armor penalties. You take more damage from martial attacks. The cost of block has increased, and it decreases damage done with bash. So if you bash people, you don't do much damage. But it's not by much. Like for me, per light piece of armor is like 5%. Cost of block will go up by 15%, and increased damage taken from martial attacks by 5%. The bonuses will be that my cost of roll dodging will be 15% reduced. Damage taken from magical attacks will be reduced by 5% because I'm wearing 5 pieces of light usually. I don't really care about that part. Movement speed penalties of sneak will be reduced by 25% for 5 pieces. If you're wearing 5, 7 will give you more. It reduces the cost of break free by 25%. Oh, that's not bad actually for light armor. That makes it easier for me to break free of effects already, even without champion points. And reduces the cost of bash by 3%. So it's easier to bash, but you don't do much damage. Easier to bash in light armor, but you just don't do that much damage. So like I said, that's it. That's Champion Point 2.0 so far, before they do any bug fixes and whatnot as it comes out. I'm still waiting for all my minion mods updates, so it'll be a lot easier to do writs and change gears. So everyone's kind of stuck in their current gear mode because I don't want to go through the hassle of switching huge sets of gear right now. Some of my filters are working, but not all of them. Yeah, so I've got tons of gear that needs to have their special mod filter tags so that I don't see them all the time and they don't get in the way. But other than that, like I said, huge bonuses to max magic. So what happens if I eat food before I sign off? What is this going to look like? This guy already has 18,000 health. For a DPS, 17,000 health is already good enough during PvE. So, but unfortunately, I don't have any food that's only Magicka boosting. I only have Witch Mother's Potent Ruse. So if I drank that, I've now got 32,000 max magic and 21,000 health, which is pretty good. So that's it for Champion Point System 2.0, and I will see you guys later. If you found this information helpful, useful, somewhat more enlightening, feel free to subscribe to the channel. Click the red subscribe button. Feel free if you want to support me as well on Subscribestar, which is the free speech alternative to Patreon. I'm trying that out right now. If you have the ability to spend some money to buy the equivalent of a coffee or two per month, then that would definitely be greatly appreciated. Thank you so much.